However, if the Brachiosaurus and the T-Rex are out, that's not good. We need a high. If the Triceratops is by itself, that's okay. The Triceratops and the Tyrannosaurus is not good. The Triceratops and the Brachiosaurus is okay. But if all three are out, that's also bad. So we have three highs. We can extract a Boolean algebraic expression out of this if you want, but just to practice another method, let's do a Carnot map. Our first high is when a 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, and 1, 1, 1. We've mapped it onto the Carnot map. If we wanted to, we could have had A on this axis and BC on this axis. We still would get the same outcome. Now, for Carnot maps, the ruling is that you have to group them in anything to the power of 2. So 2 to the power of 0, 2 to the power of 1, 2 to the power of 2. So we can have groupings of 1, 2, 4, 8, and so on. And the other rule is that you can group them up, down, left, right, but never on the diagonal. So if we look at this grouping, there's only two possible groupings that we can do. This one here, and this one here. Now, how do we extract a Boolean expression from this? Let's look at this blue circle. We can see that it has AB, but it has complements of A. It has a 0 and 1, which means we can ignore A. We have to include B, and because B is high, it's just B on its own without a bar on top. The C value does not have a complement of it, so we have to include it, and it's just a high. It's C without a bar. This grouping here is B and C. Let's look at the next grouping here. We have 1, 1 and 1, 0. B is complemented. There's a 1 and a 0 for it. So there is no B term. The A term is a high, so it's just A. And similarly as last time, it's just a C on the other side. We have to OR all of these groupings. And this is the final expression we're left. We can build this logic circuit if we want, but we can extract a little bit of Boolean algebra. C is in common in both. And voila. Let's draw this circuit out. Do what's in brackets first. We OR A and B, we AND that outcome with C, and this is the logic gate that we would need to construct to make our Jurassic Park problem work. A little bit of a humorous problem. I understand that it might seem a bit silly, but the concept can be applied in any real life when you work in. Hello, welcome in. 2 seconds, I pressed a button. A lot of things got moved. Ah, that's nice. I'll put it there. Okay. I'm just trying to keep YouTube chat available for me as well. Let me display chat box, number 1. And then sound alerts. Where's my throne? I think I might have deleted my throne sound alert. Nope. There it is. I think I messed up my throne. Someone gifted us wonderful gift yesterday or last week of the fume extractor for soldering. And because my throne alerts were off. I didn't see it. I feel so bad. And I want to say a huge thank you, whoever it was. It was anonymous. And then number 2, and the only reason I spotted it was because I was doing my taxes and I have to pay tax on the gifts that I get. So I had to look through my throne, and that's the only reason I spotted it, because I did my taxes yesterday. Good morning, everyone. Rhinormal, Lior, Young Tuga, Harry, Mohammed, Chocolamints, Saribot, Rating Tester. I hope you guys are doing wonderful. Welcome in. Hope you have your coffee, your bean juices, or whatever juice you need to get that brain working. Last stream we had a lot of low IQ in the chat. Sounds really bad. It sounds like, oh my God, Topha's such a derogatory person. No, I mean literally low IQ. We have a command and everything, and people's IQ was extraordinarily low that day. So hopefully today we will pull up our forces a little bit. We'll do better today. Oh no, it's going downhill already. Damn. Hot damn. So yeah, today we are going to do stuff in capacitors. I made a post on social media today calculating total impedance of a capacitor circuit. So that's a bit advanced, but maybe if we're ambitious, we can get to that point. That might be the goal today. Because I do have to teach phasers a bit. Yeah, you know what? Feck it. Let's teach phasers. We'll be fine. I don't have a textbook to reference. I mean, I have Floyd's textbook, but I actually don't like how Floyd teaches one part. I used to love him when I first started as a teacher. It was very, very helpful. But now that I know stuff, I'd like to switch up a few things. Yes, yes. Oh my goodness, we're very low IQ today. I went into town yesterday to do a few chores. Not chores, Oh, Harry, that IQ! Harry, you suspiciously get a lot of high IQ, actually. Statistically, I think you get really high IQ with that IQ command. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I did a few errands anyway in town, and I got a free chocolate. Free bottle of chocolate, so I'm going to have some now. Hi, Lint. Welcome in. Triad. Hope you're keeping well. All right. Cheers, chat. Oh, it's gooey. It's a gooey center. Look at that chocolate. Many of you might not know this brand, Butlers. It's an Irish brand. It might be in the UK. Does anyone know that chocolate brand, Butlers? How are you feeling, Zier, after rugby yesterday? Oh, I haven't checked the Fantasy League. I know I won, but I want to check Fantasy really quick. Rankings. There we go. Ooh. Dum. Da-da-dum. Number of game days won, Tofu. The greatest, best score achieved in a game round was Nas. The finisher, number of tries scored. Jimmy scored the most amount of tries. Average points earned by the captain, Jimmy. The super sub was Tetsu. And the number of tackles was Tetsu. So basically, somehow, I won. Even though I didn't top anything. I won the overall nations, but I didn't get top anything, really. I just did decently overall. That sounds like the story of my life. Jack of all trades, but a master of none. Annoyed we didn't beat the French. Do you know who else is more annoyed that the English didn't beat the French, Zier? Could you take a fucking wild guess? Who else is more annoyed than the British themselves? That the English didn't win? Despicable. Despicable. Hi, Grego, Minan, welcome in. Super welcome in. Can you explain how a drinking straw worked? Actually, I don't know how to explain that part, but I have a good explanation as to, have you ever seen a see-through straw and sucked on it? And then when you stop sucking on it, there's a few little bits of water still left in the straw. And you're like, well, gravity is acting downwards. Why isn't it going downwards? Well, it's actually got to do with pressure. Two things, pressure and capillary action. Both happen at the same time. You get these little straw bits stuck. Because basically, even though gravity is acting downwards, there's a counter force of pressure acting upwards and a little bit of capillary action sticking to the walls. And because water sticks to water, it sucks. Yeah. Pressure difference. That's true. Pressure difference would be a better way of saying it. No, it's true. Six Nations is great. Six Nations is really, this year's Six Nations was a banger. Absolutely. And it was a great game to end with, for sure. Otto, welcome in!
No, thank you! We don't want any more visitors, well-wishers, or distant relations!
And what about very old friends? Very old friends indeed, Otto. Jesus Christ. Thank you so much for the support. Otto, I have to ask, do you remember when you first followed and subscribed to me? Like, do you remember the game I was playing? Sorry, I'm burping a bit. I had coconut and sweet potato soup. It was BG3. So 31 months ago was BG3, was it? How? Mass Effect? No. There's no way it could have been Mass Effect. No way. Mass Effect, I was literally... Was it Mass Effect? You've been here so long, Otto. I was averaging like 15 viewers when I was playing Mass Effect. That's crazy. And that was 4 years ago, I think. I was still a PhD student in Limerick when I did that. That was before I properly switched to... Or it was the first time I properly switched to Variety. But damn. I need to check that. Because maybe you didn't subscribe to me immediately, to be fair. Maybe you were hanging out for a long time and then subscribed. Because that's what I would do. Most of my subs, I was probably only following those people for a year before I actually started like mass supporting them. Hi, Gov. How are you, Herder? Welcome in. Welcome to Rivendell, Mr. Anderson. Hi, Tarek. Welcome in. Yeah, the setup was very different. It was a long, long time ago. Oh my god, we have so many old friends coming in.
Thank you. We don't want any more visitors, well-wishers, or distant relations.
And what about very old friends? When you combine the first 8 digits of pi, it adds up to 31. You know what? That's a cool fact. Welcome in, hacks. Hope you're all doing it. I'm doing fantastic. I'm doing much better. Friday, I was in a bit of a weird mood. I don't know if people realized. So, you know the way I get my meltdowns sometimes when I stream and I solder and I build stuff and things doesn't work or the programming isn't working, and I'm very performative with my anger. I say it's performative, but I don't think it's fake, because the reason it's performative is it's kind of like when you stub your toe. If you stub your toe in public, you're calm and relaxed. But if you stub your toe and you're alone in the house, you're going to swear like crazy and exaggerated because you know it's a great relief. So on stream, I tend to do that. I tend to get really, really frustrated, but I tend to be very outgoing about it because I can. It's a really great way to kind of not get frustrated, relieve a lot of frustration immediately very quickly, and so that I'm in a good mood with chat as well. And you seem to enjoy it for some reason as well. But on Friday, when things weren't working, I had one actual proper meltdown. Although I was like relieving it as much as possible, it was a true meltdown on Friday. So I needed to take a break. A little break was needed. You were streaming Mass Effect on the day Otto oh my goodness! That is crazy, Tarek. Otto, you have been here literally from day one of my Variety journey. Holy shit. You are indeed a very old friend. Poor Herder is so sad that he wasn't here for the gameplay. Herder is very heartbroken.
Looks like
meat's back on the menu, boys. Welcome in, Jay, with the 265 stream streaks. Are meltdowns and breaks in space something that sweeps the hair back? Rogue Jelly, I hope you're keeping well as well. Welcome in. Sarah Fael. It's just the A actually tripped me up there. Thank you so much for the 100 bits. Thank you so much for kicking up a hype train. Choo choo. All aboard the scam train. Choo choo.
Motherfucking choo choo.
Oh, that clip never gets old. Corby, welcome in with your 305 streak. I hope to send out the Labras passes soon. I think I'm still waiting for one more address. And I think if that person doesn't email me back or message me back, tough luck. I think I'm just going to send them on. It has to be done. It has to be done. If I stub my toe, I'm going to swear if I'm alone or not. Do you know what? Fair point. Fair point. Fair point indeed. So today's plan is everything and anything on the capacitor. I hope we will get to this point where we can teach about reactance. But we'll do everything in DC first. Unfortunately, I can't do a demo with AC. I have nothing here AC. It is on my throne, but honestly, a signal generator and an oscilloscope are really expensive. So, and I'd rather get other stuff first, like cameras and stuff, because I want you guys to see stuff. Speaking of cameras, I'm going to buy one of our terabytes recommended ones.
And they call it a mine.
To get a nice soldering camera for you guys. Hi, Shrey, welcome in. Is an AC current Y capacitors block current? No, they don't block current. They it depends on the frequency. Tarek, thank you so much for gifting old friend a gift sub. Oh, that's a new one. We've never given an old friend a gift sub. Fascinating, fascinating. High frequency AC equipment, is it? It is expensive. And a good oscilloscope is really expensive. Like the ones we have at work are several grand each, you know. I don't have the budget for that. I could take maybe one or two home if I was building an experiment for research, like for pure research and purposes. But again, I'd probably just go and get it done in work. I don't like to bring work home. I'm very good this semester with not bringing work home. Work-life balance, let's go. I mean, I do like social media work, but not work. Work-life balance, let's go. I'm sorry, I meant DC. Oh, right. So it is, yes, in a DC current, it would. It allows a huge amount of current really quickly, initially, but then the current will decrease. And I can show that. Today, I hope to show that. So let me actually grab a few things. How is Bunny? Great question. I haven't seen her today much. Oh no, she was with us this morning. Never mind. I did see her today. She's good. She's grumpy. She was really grumpy last night. Fucking lunged at me. She was like growling and running after me because I couldn't feed her fast enough. Spoiled rotten is the other term for that. Well, I can read it. Yeah, true. I'm trying not to read emails past 5 o'clock because I get stressed and upset. So, no more. Ah, that's cool, Zier. Okay, let's get a few things that I want to do today. So, yeah, we'll talk a little bit about the theory of a capacitor first. I think that will be a nice start. We'll talk about a capacitor in a circuit, in a DC circuit, and then we're going to calculate the time constant, which is a unique little experiment that I'll be able to do, thankfully. And after that, we're going to talk about capacitors in AC circuits, if I get to that. I'm really ambitious that we'll get to that point.
Precious.
Hi, Ruggers Customs. Thank you so much for your Prime. Welcome in. You're very kind for giving a Prime. Or the Prime, technically. Yeah. Currently gaming 2. Hi, Silver. Do you mean I'm in the... Oh, I get it. Sorry. I thought I was in the wrong alert. The wrong overlay. Oh, sure. You're too kind. I just have some stuff at home. I have some electronic components, a 3D printer. Oh, fuck. Sorry, Chad, 2 seconds. My 3D printer is absolutely fried these. I'm gonna try and fix it. Seconds. I have just such a freaking issue with my 3D printer these days. It's really annoying. But basically, I have a Z-axis error that shows up and it's not consistent, and I don't even know why it shows up. Then I don't have a Z. It'll work now. The only thing I know that kind of helps it or fix it is to just restart it a whole bunch of times. I hope it works. Hi Tarek. Tarek, you are a mod. I can see a badge by your name, by the way. Bun calling Bunsy to the streamer chair. Yeah, hopefully she'll come down later. Thank you again so much for the hype train, lab rats. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much. It really, really does mean a lot. Even if it means I have to do my taxes. Although I did get all my taxes done yesterday, so I feel really good about that. Yes, but yeah, it takes half a day to do the taxes. But I only need to do it once a year, so you know what? A Z-axis error is never late. It arrives exactly when it needs to. Everything is fine with the Z-axis. Is it because you rearranged your room and hidden all our favorite toys? I have not hidden them, I promise. I'm going next week. Hopefully not as bad as last year. Where are you going next week? Where does your name Tofu come from? I was hanging out with a bunch of people who commented on me being pale white, and they started calling me a tofu because I was so pale. So yeah, that's where originally it came from. So, oh, taxes. You're going to do them next week. I see, I see. That access. Oh. Get it. It's saying that there's something blocking, moving. Isn't. So annoying. It's just a small thing. It's not even that useful, Fred. It's just a little container. But I'm just trying to fix my 3D printer. I just don't know what's wrong with it. I still don't understand what's wrong with it. It's a Z-axis error. And it has been going on for ages. Z-axis error, bamboo. Basically, I've been having problems with my 3D printer since I had to reset the disk, the thing. I don't know if that's... Check linear bearings, clear the block cable A1 series. Ensure the umbilical black cable run is not snagging. It's not. Manual bed adjustment. Turn off the printer. Gently push the bed all the way down. Then turn it back on and attempt to home. Oh! Okay, I've never done that before. There we go. This is where it gets stuck. Tries to push down. Well, now it fucking works. Like, it's so inconsistent. Look at it. It said it was stuck earlier. Gonna tell me it's stuck now. Son of a bitch. Anyways. Hi, Grim. Hi, Lana. Welcome in. Welcome in. Yeah, it's just getting stuck. I give up on it. And it's just the inconsistency that sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. That's the part that pisses me. I'm gonna try what the gate thing suggests. Just shut it down. Nothing's snagging it. Please. Mental. It has been inhabited by the spirit of Bunzo, and that is why it's fucking with you. Son of a bitch. I knew it. I knew it. It was always Bunzo's fault. Alright, I'm going to try print one more thing, and if it doesn't work, I'm just going to give up. And we'll just start on our lesson on capacitors, because, you know. I googled Bunzo accidentally. I was clearly talking about her. And there is a restaurant in Ireland called Bunzo, I think in Cork. Cork Bay. Dust on the axles. They usually got oil on them and dust can accumulate there. I did lubricate it recently. And I can't find any dust or anything. Maybe I do need to clean all of it. I'm not sure. Maybe you're right. Try another print. Threaten it with the CNC. Will it be able to primary machine? Do you know what? I have a project this summer for the CNC. I'm just gonna continue with my research, my own research, and instead of saving things for students, and clearly I'm not getting funding, I'll be like sticking my middle finger to the people who aren't giving me funding, and I'll just do research myself. And that's the plan. So my plan is I'm going to build a battery over the summer, and I'm going to stream the whole process. I checked really quickly that, you know, oh, is this not TOS? What's the word? Protected information. But the template of the battery is commercial. It's very typical. Everyone does it. It's not a patent or anything like that. So, perhaps too much loops makes a slide when it shouldn't. Trade secrets. Yeah, so basically it isn't trade secrets. So I was just making sure, like, oh, you know, is the model that we have very, very cool or unique, or do I need to protect it? And no, so there's nothing stopping me from building a battery live on stream. So that's going to be my little goal of the day. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to print something that I was test printing before. And if it works now, then I know what the issue is. Happy belated Pi Day. Happy belated Pi Day as well. So what I'm printing is this guy. He's a cute little dude. But you put your tubes in, you know, like toothpaste and stuff, and then you pull it through and it squeezes out for you. I figured out the YouTube. Oh, okay, perfect. Is there something I can fix right now? Ooh. Ah, I see what it is. I see what it is. Why don't we celebrate Tau Day? Do you know what? You should start with that. Rondex, welcome in. New here. I saw science and thought it would be interesting to learn stuff. What kind of topics are covered? Anything and everything, my dear friend. We usually build stuff. At the moment, I'm just raging on my 3D printer. Once I'm done raging at it, we're going to start on capacitors. So a capacitor. Look, while we're starting, might as well have a quick chat about it. I'm going to be talking. Why did I have to get my nails done? I'll get there eventually, chat. There we go. This guy is a capacitor. This one is specifically a ceramic capacitor. It's a very normal looking thing with little legs, 2 little legs sticking out. Download got fucked. Another problem with this bamboo thing is that my Wi-Fi isn't great. And if it loses connection to the Wi-Fi for even a second, the whole download just freezes. That's the worst part as well. It's annoying, but it is what it is. We're getting a tutorial on how to argue with electronics. Do you know what? In this day and age, we'll take what we can. I assumed it was two. No. So what's inside these ceramic? It is 2 plates technically. The capacitance is kind of the same idea, but we will get that working in a sec. Okay, so and 100%. Okay, now here we go. Here we go. Let's cross our fingers and our toes, chat. Works. Okay, it's doing stuff. Hi, welcome in, Abdus. I'll say Salem. Welcome in. Stop staring out at it, judging it like a tiger mom. You're probably giving it performance anxiety. I'd better give it performance anxiety. Okay, so if it prints, I think it's an issue with Bamboo Studio. It might be an issue with Bamboo Studio with my Bamboo Lab. If this works. So some files, it just freaks out. Other files, it doesn't. We'll see. We'll see how far we get. Okay. So I have a whiteboard. We will be dealing with capacitors and whiteboards. I have a textbook, but I'm not going to be bothering using a textbook. I should know as a lecturer in this field, everything we need to know about capacitors, and hopefully we will be able to, figure out things on the go. Ceramic capacitor. $104. What does that mean? It's what value is it though? 104 picofarad. Okay, picofarad capacitor. 104 farad. That's tiny. Can I get a bigger capacitor? I wouldn't even mind an electrolytic one. Do I have a bigger capacitor? Not me. I know. Want you. Oh, I have bigger capacitors. Woohoo! So those tiny ones are in the pico range. They're very, very small. But these guys are a little bit bigger, and I think I'll use them today. Let me get the bigger ones. These guys, are electrolytic capacitor. It means that they're actually positive and negative sensitive, and they look like this. Ta-da! Oh, let me get them by the legs. So this is specifically 100 microfarads, so 10 to the minus 6. And you can notice that the legs are short and long because, similar to LEDs, it has a positive port and a negative port. They're not like resistors. Now, a ceramic capacitor that I showed you earlier is not sensitive to positive and negative. It's kind of like a resistor in that case. And its legs are the same length. So when you're building your capacitor projects, be wary of, do you need one that has a directionality associated with it? Just to be aware of it. Yeah, you can pop them, really fun as well. I'm not allowed to do that anymore. But yeah, it's really fun to pop. Usually it's the electrolytic one that's popped. So if you're going to do that demo with your students, it's fucking working now. It's doing the vibration test anyway. Now, let's look at the structure of a capacitor very, very quickly. Hi, Elizabeth. Welcome in. I didn't know this kind of stuff existed on Twitch. I know, right? It's really, really cool. We have loads of science communicators on Twitch. Hopefully, we representing. And there'll be more and more people. I am going to check out... I am going to move the whiteboard here. It's going to block the 3D printer. But don't worry, I'm keeping an eye on it. So I'm gonna pick you up, chat. Don't be sensitive. Got you guys. I got you. Ooh, under my skin. This is what we're building towards. By the end of this lesson, this will be our goal. Hi, gamer. Once I connected one capacitor to the AC current and I got charged by my father. I don't get the joke. I'm so sorry. Charged by your father? I'm sure there's a joke there and I'm not getting it. I'm sorry. I might actually put a textbook open just to get the chapter titles. Just so that I don't miss anything too relevant. We're going to keep this quite fluffy. I'm not going to go into too much depth about capacitors because my goal is to do proper calculations and impedance stuff. Fun stuff, basically. So to be able to do that, we need to fly through the concept of capacitors. So hopefully many of us are already aware of things like resistors and power supplies and Ohm's law. As long as we know those things, we can deal with capacitors, and that's exactly what my hope is today. So capacitor, the basic structure in a circuit like this. This is the symbol for a capacitor. It kind of looks like a cell, except the legs are the same length. That's very, very suspicious. That's the idea behind it. If in a circuit you have something that is supposed to be a cell by power, but it's the same size, then that means they're both the same thing. That's exactly what a capacitor is. It's two metal plates, exactly the same, with a gap between them. Now, you can have something called a dielectric material in them. You can shove in wool or a different material for insulation and so on and so forth, but not really. But for the purpose of this talk, what we're going to do is we're going to treat these as two metal plates and air in between. So, if I get I'm coming back, chat. Ugh! Come on. Woo! Here we go. If I get two metal, we're going to assume this is two metals, and I put them like this, and I probe a wire in here, and I probe a wire in here, and I put it into a circuit, and we have air in between, we have basically a capacitor in front of us. This is a capacitor. Now, how do we define, like, okay, what does that mean? You have two plates and you have a circuit. Excellent question. So let's think about this. The way I like to teach this is really look at it in a circuit. So let's look at this from a pure physics perspective. Let's put our brains active here. Let's rub our forehead together. Yes. And think about this. If we have a power supply, we have a positive port and a negative port. And we're going to think about this in terms of electron flow. Okay, so remember that conventional current goes this way, but because we're talking about electrons are attracted from here. Now, if you have two metal plates, you know that the electron bond is very, very loose in it. It's a metal bond between all the guys on the metal surface of this plate here, and they've loose electrons, right? They're ready to, like put the tiniest potential across, and their electrons are ready to leave their parents' basement and run out the door. They're packed. Their suitcases are ready to go. So let's turn on our switch. We have a whole bunch of electrons on the plate, loads. You have a couple around the wire as well. We have so much more on a metal plate. You can imagine there's way more available. And obviously even way more available here. Now, before we even turn on the power supply, now that I mention it, this is neutral. It's not net positive or negative charge. It's just that the electrons are loosely bound to the atom. That's all. So when we turn on the power supply, all the negatively charged electrons on that plate are going to be all attracted to that positive port. So they're all going to go whoosh. So electrons are going to leave that place and build up here. Now think about the structure of an atom. If you start throwing off electrons from that atom, think of it as proton, and the electron is negatively charged, it was neutral. But now that the electrons have been kicked out, going to build a positive charge. It's not like as if protons are attaching to it or positrons. No. It's just because the electrons are evacuating, you're building positive charge. Like that. Exactly. Negative attracts positive. Exactly, gamer. And the parents kick them out. Hi, Tofu. Welcome in, everyone. Hope you guys are having a wonderful Sunday. By the way, in case nobody knew, my 3D printer is working, so I think it's the Bamboo Lab Studio that's the issue. Something about parsing the files is freaking out my Z-axis. I don't know what that means, but it is what it is. Well, let's look at the other story. Because this is the negative port, negatively charged electrons, they're not going to want to go there. In fact, all the electrons are going to, within the wire and everywhere else are going to actually move here. So here you end up getting a huge buildup of negative charge because that's where all the electrons want to go. Would you look at that? Again, there's a gap, so no electrons can flow across. The electrons can't jump over here. They want to. They're very, very tempted now, but they can't. So you have a huge buildup of positive. You have a huge buildup of negative. And the longer you let it charge, over time, it will match whatever voltage this is. 5 volts, 5 volts. If you give it enough time. Your capacitor then is charged. Now, a lot of people say that a capacitor is a battery. I would like to highlight that that's not the case. Yes, it stores energy in an electric field, but it is not a battery. We'll be a bit pedantic about that definition, just to be mindful. The first capacitor that was ever created was the Leyden jar, named after the city Leiden. Sorry, my Dutch isn't the greatest. And it was a complete accident the way it was discovered and the way it was built. Even though Muschenbroek was given credit for discovering the Leyden jar, I'd like to highlight that a few people around the world did discover it as well, independently or at the same time. But the one that stuck on, obviously, was the Leyden jar by Muschenbroek. There's an electric, exactly, because there's a buildup of positive and negative charge, that's an electric field. In this case, the electric field is in this direction. I always have to remember, an electric field is what would happen to a positive charge. It's a bit weird for us physicists to think about that. I'm glad to hear that, Michael, or Michaelo, I hope I got it okay there. Is it because it can't store charge for long? No, just by the definition of a battery, it has to have an electrochemical reaction. There is no electrochemistry here. No. So that's just by pure pedantic definition, it's not a battery in that case. Okay. Let's look at this a little bit more. Okay, so I explained how a capacitor works. What is the definition of capacitance? Capacitance then, because of, hopefully you can understand that there's a little bit of mention of voltage. Capacitance is equal to the amount of charge that can be stored per volt. Because obviously, the more I increase the voltage, the more charge, like the more electrons that are going to move in this direction, the more electrons that are going to move in there. Makes sense. So when we say we have 100 microfarad or whatever, it means that it's calculating the amount of charge that can be stored per unit volt that is supplied to it. So that's the unique value of capacitance. We tend to use the term capacitance quite loosely a lot in science and physics. Capacitance of a battery, capacitance. Someone mentioned there earlier that you can even measure the capacitor of Earth. This is the definition for capacitance from a pure pedantic, proper definition used in capacitors and circuits. Yeah, Roland Dex, I think the anecdotal story goes all the way back to Benjamin Franklin, who got the direction wrong, unfortunately. But you have to give them credit. They were talking about flow of electrons and flow of electricity before they even discovered the electron, number one. Number two, before they even accepted that the atom was real or that the world was made out of atoms. So it was a crazy time, crazy time. They did the best that they could. They did the best that they could. Now, what's the unit of capacitance that is used? So most of the time you'll be using nanofarads or microfarads in the lab. So we'll be using microfarad today. Like it's quite big already. I did get to see 1 farad capacitor recently. Another lecturer, an electrical engineer showed me. It was massive. It was a massive farad. But yeah, that's what 1 farad would be like. Okay. Now that we have all of that covered, I want you to start thinking about what's happening to the current and about what's happening to the voltage. So let's say we have this shut down first, okay? It's 0 volts, right? Nothing's happening, everything's fine. So there's no current and no voltage. And then I switch on the voltage to 5 volts. Think about what's happening fundamentally at a physics level. The minute I switch on the battery source, all the electrons from this plate are whooshing in this direction. All the electrons from this direction are whooshing in this direction. So you can imagine that the current is at maximum in the first instance. Okay? In the first microsecond as I switch on that guy, current is huge. The voltage is at minimum. It's not 5 volts yet. That electric field takes a long time to develop. You need more and more electrons, so you need to give it time. So initially, the current is at maximum because you switch on the power supply and the electrons are going whoosh. The voltage is at 0 volts and slowly it begins to rise, okay? However, the more time you give the capacitor to charge, the more it's going to increase in voltage, while the current is going to decrease. Why? Well, think about it. First of all the electrons went whoosh to the power supply, but there's less and less and less electrons to go to this 5 volts. You're running out of electrons per the voltage that is supplied. And over time, you're getting less and less and less current. So at the end, the voltage is at maximum and the current is at minimum. As many things are in physics, it's not going to be a linear relationship. So we're going to look at that. That's hopefully what the experiment is. That's my cap. Or my other marker. So what's going to happen with the voltage of the capacitor over time, we'll plot time on this axis, is that the voltage is at minimum initially, and it'll shoot up, but it'll plateau over a huge amount of time. Almost, but not always, quite reaching 5 volts. Are we charging a I will be charging a capacitor, yes, exactly. The current over time is the exact opposite. Yeah, exact opposite. It starts at maximum initially, goes whoosh really, really quickly, but then it decreases down. And so, over time, the current gets smaller and smaller and smaller. Now, ideally, I would do 2 things in this circuit today that I'm going to demonstrate. I'm going to show this guy and this guy today. But the current is so small that my ammeter is not going to measure it, so we won't be able to do this experiment. But we can measure the voltage. The voltage is very doable. Now, a unique thing that we use, a time constant that we use with capacitors, is somewhere around here. We call this time constant tau. I'm sure Grim is delighted to hear the letter tau being mentioned. Tau is a unique value where 68% of the capacitor is charged. I think it's 68.3, but roughly, for this estimate. When when the capacitor reaches 68% state of charge, we call it the time constant tau. 2 tau is like 83%. 3 taus is 98%. 4 taus is 99%. Thank you, Grim. Thank you. That's okay, Rolodex. If this is going over your head today and I'm flying through this too quickly, that's completely okay. Sometimes I do extremely beginner-friendly physics. Sometimes I build on physics that I've done a long time ago. So this is one of those ones that I built on a long time ago. I do actually have YouTube videos on this. I have a YouTube video on Ohm's Law. It's like 5 minutes long. If you want to learn what voltage, current, and resistance is, you're more than welcome to check those out, or my Instagram reels and stuff. I do jump around a lot. I do very basic stuff, and I do very advanced stuff. And I kind of jump back and forth. Today, I will admit that today is ever so slightly more advanced than the basic stuff. I'm flying through this. There's a lot of assumptions I'm making people know coming in. I didn't talk much about a capacitor, as in like that it's directly proportional to distance and area. So we're not really talking about capacitors much today, but I hope you guys forgive me, because like I said, this isn't the purpose of this lecture. I want to get to what's the word? I want to get to capacitors and AC circuits. We're going to do AC circuits today, hopefully. I'm kind of doing a crash course revision here at the moment. So with that, my goal now is to prove this is true to you. Today we're doing a real science experiment. We're going to do real science and we're going to plot this, hopefully, if it works. Again, you can do the logs or the exponential, well, you can do the inverse logs to calculate all these things. Again, not the purpose of today's lesson. That's covering how capacitors work and behave. I've done a few YouTube videos on that actually. But today is all about capacitors and AC circuits. That being said, I'm building a DC. Okay. What do we need for this bad boy? This guy here, our power supply. I should really set up the demon core for a horror stream sometime. We haven't played a horror game in a while because I'm not doing any charity streams. Hopefully, once the semester is over, once wedding's done, everything is done like that, I hope to do a bit more specialized streams. Although we will have a special stream. Oh yeah, our next stream is special. I'll be on the front page of Twitch. We'll be doing physics, Irish physicists. We'll do Boyle's Law, obviously, but there'll be a new lady that we're going to be studying, Lonsdale, and I'm going to be teaching you guys about X-ray diffraction. We're actually going to do a diffraction experiment too, which is cool. I hope it works. I hope, yeah, it's a really hard experiment to do. Oh, I'll turn off the lights. Oh, it'll be good. It'll be good. Okay, here we go. I love science. Welcome in, Kaizenix. Oh, you're both on Twitch and on YouTube. Hello, hello. Okay, breadboard, that, and we need a giant resistor. Something I should have mentioned, and I forgot to say that, is that to calculate the time constant tau, you need to multiply two numbers. The two numbers you need to multiply is the resistor value by the capacitance. Then you get a time value, and that time says, this is the time it takes to charge the battery to 63%. Or charge the capacitor to 63%. Yay! Hopefully with this experiment, I'm going to prove that to you. That's our goal here. It's nice and cool to say, oh, this is true, I'm going to trust tofu. Well, fuck that. Don't trust me. Let's do this. Let's do the science behind this. That's the goal here. Diffraction is fun, yeah. I haven't done it in years, so I'm going to go into work on Monday. I'm going to test it out that the setup works. Hopefully it works, and I'm going to do a whole diffraction experiment and show you how X-ray diffraction works. Great. Hi Newick, welcome in. Sorry, your message got auto-modded. And I'm trying to understand why it got auto-modded. What did you say that was bad? Not a single bad word in there. Sorry, I won't be able to help you on that, unfortunately, because other than that, what you just said there is all I really know about that. I only work with electrolytic and ceramic ones. Sorry. I'm so sorry I couldn't help you there in the moment. I hope you're having fun with KiCad though. I get stressed with it. Exactly, Shrey. That's it. Tau is equal to R times C. Okay, first things first. I'm going to bring you down, chat. Maybe I should set up another camera. Even if it's not a great camera. Let's see. I'm going to try this. I don't know if this camera works. But Bunzo ate some of my cameras. Don't worry, that was me. I think this is my webcam from my first ever stream setup. You guys ready to see some amazing camera quality here? Some amazing tofu camera quality. Oh, it's a HD webcam. It's a HD one, chat. Tofu in HD, ladies and gentlemen. I think this is my first ever camera. When I was really, really young. When I was just starting out as a streamer. Oh my god, look at the fish lens. That's class. You can see so much more of my room though, actually, with the fish lens. That's kind of cool. You can see the 3D printer and everything. Alright, let me pick you up, guys. So what I'm going to do is we're going to turn that guy off. We're going to go into building stream. And we're going to make this camera the main camera. Like, yeah, you don't want to see me in HD. I think you want to see the electronics in HD. I think that makes more sense to me. So I'll make this guy the main camera and then just my face somewhere else. Actually, while we have a lot of viewers here, I just want to say a huge thank you again to whoever donated the Throne fume extractor. I really appreciate that, and I'm so sorry the notifications didn't work. I always say thank you for everything, and I feel like such a fuck not having the opportunity to thank you. It'll make our soldering project so much safer over the summer, so thank you for that. And here I thought my internet is bad. Then I'll add a video capture here. Hi, Frizzerp. Welcome in, welcome in. There's my camera. And then I'll edit this out ever so slightly. Oh, look at that HD camera. Oh, lads. Can't believe we switched to DLSR. Ah, yes, the dime extractor. Yes, the dime extractor. Still don't see Bambi though. No, she's up in her little coven. Her little, yeah. So first things first is we need to measure the resistance. I'm going to use a 1 mega ohm resistor. What is the unit for mega, chat? What is it to the power of? Oh, legal, don't talk to me about OLED right now. I'm still traumatized from Friday. 10 hardcore to the mega. Oh yeah. Oh, that joke will never leave me. Sorry. It's 10 to the 6. There we go. It's 1 million. That's right. 10 to the 6. Kilo is 10 to the 3. And 10 to the 9 is... Oh. It's not nano. Sorry. What's 10 to the power of 9? Giga? Giga. There we go. So yes, when I teach my students for the first time, absolutely everyone says Giga Chad afterwards. I was telling this joke actually recently because someone was talking about 6, 7, you know. When I teach my students these days, because they're a new generation coming in, soon, I think it's 2 years I have the iPad babies. Someone calculated that the next generation that I'm going to be teaching is the iPad babies soon. Anyways, I'm teaching Gen Z at the moment. I thought they would laugh at 69. So anytime, you know, the answer ends up being 69, I'm like, oh no, I better be prepared for students laughing. They're going to be giddy. Because you can imagine a big lecture hall. But it's not 69 that makes them laugh. It's always 6, 7. This just shows the generation difference. That's the big, huge generation difference. Back in our day, 69 was the funniest thing in the world, if we heard our lecturer say it. I'm going to put this here so you guys can see it. I'm going to measure the resistance. It's meant to be 1 mega ohms. Oh, 20. Go. Or even 2 mega ohms should be enough. Do you know what you can do, Ronadex? If you scroll down through my profile about me, I have a whole bunch of people I've interviewed on Twitch who have STEM backgrounds. 1M Mega Ohm, baby! So you can check out the profiles. There's no ghosts in space for Zerp! Thanks for Zerp. Thanks. But we have a few people who are really awesome and hang out with us. Nerduino, Science, they stream quite often. So Nerduino does space news. Science does not microbiology, insect biology, but he does like general science stuff. Who else? Who streams a lot? Like Volcano does stream, but again, she's the same thing as me. She's a full-time lecturer, so she doesn't have time to stream as often. But yeah, instead, give me a shout of what field you're interested in, and I can maybe depict what I can maybe find a scientist that you're interested in. What age do you teach to? So in a university. So I teach university kids from 18 years old, 17 maybe even, to 22. But mature students exist as well, so I teach adults. But I can teach as young as 17. Ah, wires. Oh yeah, I still call them kids, of course. Of course. They're but like, you know, they're all young. I didn't do it while you were soldering. Thank you for that. Thank you. You're very kind. Hi, Layla, by the way. At first I was like, what the fuck, university kids? But then you said 18. Oh, right. Yeah, like, it might be weird for you, but call them kids because they're legally adults. But, you know, they are much younger than you, and you are teaching them. Honestly, you know, they're young. Their life is ahead of them. They're messers and they're enjoying life. Be their kids. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way. You know? I really don't. They're 100% kids. Have a 360-degree vision. They have compound eyes, and they get calcite from the seawater, and the sea's got it from weathering mountain rocks. The never-ending cycle of inorganic. Oh, that's so cool! And I have a little thing to show for that. Also, little guy from Portugal. Oh, let me show it here. I kidnapped this guy from Portugal. Okay, kidnap sounds wrong. I bought it, okay? Wait, that sounds bad. That sounds like I paid money for trafficking. I legally purchased this fossil. What did we name him? Miguel! This is Miguel. We tried to find a good Portuguese name. So this is Miguel. Are you saying our lives are behind? It's kind of crazy to think about that for Zerp, you know? So if a 30-year-old is in the news for dying, well, they might say young, you know? But when you hear in the news like an 18-year-old dying, they say it's tragic, and they're like, oh, they had their whole life ahead of them. They make it out way, way more tragic than a 30-year-old or a 40-year-old. So yeah, unfortunately, we're at that age that in the news, many people wouldn't care too much about us. Oh, is that? Welcome in, welcome in. And I was looking to be an electrician. Nice! Is there an electricity person? It's really hard to find electrics people because they might not stream in the science and technology category, so I don't know how to find them. Oh, they are young. Grim. I would like to correct. 30 years old is very young, I promise. But I'm just pointing out what I hear in the news, you know? So this is an electrolytic capacitor. So I better be careful. about the directionality. Oh, 5 volts, nice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it off because I'm scared of the sparks. Someone commented on one of my videos that they have the exact same power supply, and I was like, oh my god, does your thing spark when you short it? And does it have a sound when you're setting the current limit? And he was like, oh, I thought that was a feature. Bro, I don't think this is meant to be happening. I think these are not great power supplies. We're going to have an electro boom moment. Hopefully not, hopefully not. It's an insane, like, it's insane feature. You can hear the current flow. It's like sound in this machine. It's terrifying. It's actually and when I short it, sparks fly. I don't think that's meant to happen, but you know what? I'm just a physicist. Just a physicist. So then I turn the power supply on again like this while the power supply is shorted. Turn it on. And I set the current limit. Jesus, it's at 1.3 amps at the moment. .1 amp is fine. General rule of thumb is like, oh, what should I set the current limit to? A general rule of thumb is 20 milliamps. 20 milliamps, if you have diodes in your circuit, at least that protects most diodes in that case then, if you're ever wondering. It's a feature. I know, Salem. Oh, the relay tick is so satisfying. I think I want to do some research into relays. Nathan absolutely loves relays. Such cool history behind them. Yeah, we might build a relay setup so I have an idea of my dad had a great idea. He do you know PC fans? Dad for the CPU, do you know the inbuilt ones? They're just like one little fan that you can place on top, coolers. My dad just had a whole bunch of them, and he put them underneath the radiator, and he has a little thermistor with a relay. And so the idea behind it is that if the radiator is on, there's like a little bit of coding, a little nano there. If the radiator is on, that the fans will turn on, and that they will circulate the heat faster around the house, because that's how your house heats up. It is using convection. There's 3 forms of heat transfer: radiation, convection, conduction. Conduction to get to the radiator is the priority, but then convection from the radiator heating the air beside it via conduction, and then via convection circulating around. So you're speeding up the process of the heat being supplied to the house. I thought it was a really, really cool trick, and I think I'd like to build that as well myself. I have a few PC fans that I could recycle as well. It's a really nifty idea, and you can 3D print the little holders, and yeah, it's a really cool project. Anyways, sorry, I got ranty there. My bad. For high range resistor for tricore, I suggest you using relays for changing resistance changes. I don't remember the relay discussion, but I'm still confused about that legal. So that discussion on the resistance of flesh, I'm still struggling. Oh, Left John Reed, when you sent me the diagram, that's what you meant. Sorry, I checked it live. And I'm still confused. I'm not getting it for some reason, legal. I think there's something very basic that I'm having trouble with. This happens to me all the time with a lot of circuits. I either get it very quickly or I don't. And the reason I'm not getting it is because it's a very, very basic parameter. I'm just being a bit silly. Okay. I'm going to need help with this, chat. This is not going to work, actually. Well, hello there, Maud. How you doing? Welcome in, welcome in. Is that a... I don't know. Let me smudge that there. Let me clean that up for you. That badge looks a bit rough, bloody Drongo. Let me get that. I don't know. There looks like there's a bit of a stain on it. I don't know. Congratulations, Drongo, on becoming the newest Twitch ambassador. I hope you guys are delighted as I am to hear that Drongo has joined the team. my back. Oh, jeez. Oh, lads, I'm only 30. What is this? Ow, I think I just pulled. Sorry, I'm just getting some wires and crocodile clips. My crocodile clips. Sorry, I had crocodile clips. Oh, I have them. Clips. Do you know the brand? It's very good quality. Oh, okay, thanks, Gio. No, I've never heard of it before. I'll try and check out that brand sometime. I'm usually a cheap person. I just buy whatever's the cheapest. If there are ambassadors, there is a government, and we should overthrow it. You know what? Fair, Mord. Fair. I'm on board with that. Voltage. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm trying to get this set up here so that you guys can see.
Jade, what do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world.
Now remember what I said about the electrolytic capacitor being sensitive to positive and negative? Make sure that the positive goes in the positive line, okay? Don't do the silly mistake of what I just did there. How are we all today? We're very, very good. We are testing our theory about capacitor charges being equal, or the tau, the time it takes to charge it, equaling the capacitance value and the resistance value multiplied together. So that's our hope. So this is a 1 milliohm resistor, 100 microfarad capacitor, 1 mega ohm, sorry. And then we're going to crocodile clip this guy, and this guy is going to be measuring voltage. So chat, we are going to do this together as a team. So if anyone wants to do this, I highly recommend you boot up Excel. Hi, Kip, welcome in. So if you want to do this experiment with me, you can. I know that, or whatever knockoff Excel you have, because, you know, there is some knockoffs in case you're, or whatever version thing, you know. Okay, so we're going to plot time on one axis and voltage on another. There we go. I'm gonna have to set this up in a way that I can monitor and type. We're gonna grab our phones. I'll open up Paint. So I'm gonna grab a phone and get a stopwatch. And what we're going to do is we're going to record every 20 seconds maybe? So every 20 seconds, we take the voltage reading. That's our goal here in this experiment. I'm just putting 20, 40 and hoping Excel detects pattern between those two. And I'll drag. Oh, for fuck's sakes, Excel. Why are you being so mean to me? We'll maybe take measurements for like 10 minutes. So 10 minutes is 600 seconds, right? And then we'll measure the voltage as well. Hello, welcome in, Spartan. No, that's not negative. What that shows is the arrow of current flow. So the current says that the current is going in this direction to this leg here, which is correct. So it's going in this direction in there. We're always assuming conventional current flow with electronics. So it is correct. We have set this up correctly. Are we building a capacitor that can hold 1.2 gigawatts? Sorry, gigawatts, my bad. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to set this guy up for voltage. Going to go up to it'll be higher than 2 volts, so I've set it up to 5 volts here, or 20 volts. So what we're going to do is, I'm going to press go on my stopwatch. And I'm going to turn on the power supply. And what's going to happen is, every 20 seconds, we'll take down what the voltage reading says here. Excuse me. Oh my god, what? My life. I was like, what? It's not working. So, if you want to participate in this experiment, you're free to do so. Make a column of time, 20, 40, 60 seconds, on so forth, all the way to 600. And then we're going to measure the voltage reading every 20 seconds. So take down what the voltage is beside every time measurement if you want to participate in this. So, are we ready? Buckle up. Hello, Mama. Welcome in, OX. Get set. Oh shit, I need to stop. This is why lab partners are useful. Science. And go. There we go. Okay, as you can see, the voltage is jumping quite quickly. Really, really cool to see. Yes, that's why we chose a big resistance, exactly. So, we're approaching our first 20-second measurement reading. Here we go, here we go, here we go. And the thing we're going to take down is 0.9. For the first 20 seconds. Let's go. Let's go. Okay, next 40 seconds. I hope we don't get raided during this time. This is going to be a disaster. Because we have to redo the whole experiment. Okay, here we go. 40 seconds coming up. Coming up. Coming up. And 1.65. 1.65. Next. Okay, 60 seconds. Here we go. Here we go. Seconds. Here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 2.2 volts. Let's go. We're racing on ahead. When Tofu says jump, say how high. Okay, we're going to go for the 80-second mark now, which is 1 minute 20 seconds. 1 minute 20-second mark. Here we go. 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 2.64. 2.64. As you can see, the current is so small that we're not even getting an internal reading. That's why we can't measure the current for this experiment. I don't have a sensitive enough multimeter for this. Okay, here we go. 1 minute 40 approaching now, and 3 volts exactly. Woohoo! We keep on going. 100 gift subs for an explosion. Listen, listen, listen. I will get banned on Twitch for doing that on purpose. Accident is okay. But if I explode a capacitor on purpose, I think that's TOS. All right, 120 seconds. Here we go. Here we go. And 3.28, chat. 3.28. So remember, this is what we said was going to happen. We said that the voltage is going to shoot up really, really quickly first, but it's going to slow down over time. So we are seeing that. Here we go. 2 minutes and 20 seconds. And 3.5 exactly. So remember, I'm supplying 5 volts to the system. So think about it. What number are we slowly, ever so slowly, approaching? Go. And now, 3.68. 3.68 volts. There's a little buzzing sound from the power supply. I'm so uncomfortable with this power supply, I swear. Okay, we're approaching 3 minutes now. And 3.82 volts. Slowing down significantly, but that's okay. We can also do the discharging experiment too, similarly. The only thing we need to know is that you can charge it up really, really quickly. How do you charge the capacitor instantly? Well, 3.93. You can just remove the resistor. So short it. No resistors to slow down the current and just charge it up super, super, super quick. We can pop it too. Listen here, you little shits. We're not popping this. Health and safety. We're ambassadors. We can't do that. Okay, 2 seconds left and 4002. We're at 4 volts now. Not 5 minutes has passed. 4.25 volts tops is my guess. All right. We have a few. We should have gambled. We should have set up a gamba here. Sorry, I'm not keeping an eye on chat because 20 seconds is quite fast. We need to keep track of everything. 4.1. 4.1 volts at 240 seconds. At 4 minutes 20 seconds is our next measurement. .16. We are slowing down significantly. All right, so we're almost at the 5-minute mark. We're doing this for 10 minutes. We're almost at the 5-minute mark. .421. It kind of jumped there, but I'm going to take it as 4.21. Hi, Felice, by the way. Welcome in. Hello, Steve. Hope you guys are keeping well. So sorry I can't keep an eye on the chats at the moment properly. Here we go. We're approaching 5 minutes. 5, 4, 3, 4.26. Now, be mindful that when you're going to be plotting this, that your axis for time at the bottom is not in minutes, but in seconds. Very, very important because all the units, coulomb and all of that, is per second. 4.29. That's why a capacitor value is so high. Like 1 farad is massive. We don't really build anything with 1 farad. Everything's in nanofarads, microfarads, even picofarads, because a full farad is way too big of a unit. 4.32. It's why things like magnetic field and magnetic flux and all of those units are also very, very big. Tesla is one of the units, but we tend to use Gauss, for example, instead. This is a smaller unit that we will tend to use often. 4.34. All right, 380. So 6 minutes, 20 seconds is coming up now. And 436. 4.36. Actually, Drongo, do you watch rugby? I feel like I've asked you this before. Hi, Kira. Welcome in. Oh, I'm trying to remember now, Noodle. On top of my head, 2 seconds. For 6 minutes, 40 seconds is 438. Is a magnetic. Let me look at the unit again. I'll figure out from the unit. Oh, I can't use anything. I'm so sorry. It's like magnetic lines per unit area. Or is that flux? No, and then that's flux. Wait. 7 minutes, 439. I need to look at the units again really quickly. The SI units first. Henry is flux. That's right. That's a Henry. No. That's induction. No. 4.4. Henry is the unit for induction, which is for the inductor. Formula 1 is the only sport. Ah, fair enough. And 4.41. Our next time measurement is 8 minutes, so we're approaching the 8-minute line now. Bakra-chan, thank you so much for your prime. I don't think I have any sound overlays on this screen. I apologize. Oh no, I do! 8 minutes, 4.42. Oh no, chat is trying to sabotage me. They're trying to distract me from science. Chat is trying to distract me from science. Bakra-chan, thank you so much for your prime. Thank you so much for supporting this channel. You're very, very kind. Here we go, team. We're approaching 9 minutes now, or 8:20, and 4.42. It didn't change. Okay. So remember we said it's going to slowly approach our value. And the value should be whatever you're supplying. In this case, 5 volts. But you can see already at 4.42 volts, it's struggling. It's struggling. Okay, here we go. 8 minutes, 40 seconds is 4.43. Who's Henry? I forget his first name, but Henry was a scientist who discovered inductance independently from Faraday. Both Faraday and Henry discovered these things independently, but we still give the unit to Henry. Faraday discovered enough. 9 minutes, 4.43. But yeah, Faraday did plenty of other stuff, so it's okay to share the credit a little bit. Here we go. 9 minutes and 20 seconds is now 4.44. We have only 2 more measurements left, chat. We're approaching the end. He was an American. There we go. Joseph Henry. Second last measurement we're taking. 9 minutes and 40 seconds approaching now. And it is 4.44. Last 10-minute measurement is, oh, I'll say 4.44. I jumped back down during that time. 4.44. All right. So I'm just going to turn off the power supply. But let's check out this guy. Look at this. It's discharging. So over time, this guy will be discharging if we give enough time. That there, and we will set up the camera back again here. Go up, chat. So I need to pee real quick, but overall the experiment, Rag, I wasn't born yesterday. We will not be doing that. It's so weird. I'm not allowed to do that, like, planned in the lab. But if it happens by accident, it's okay. Do what you will with that health and safety information in future. H is for induction. Yes, that's right, Salem. Yeah. Exponential charging curve. Hopefully OX will plot it now. I like that figure of speech, Gooster. I was born at night, but not last night. Hi, lab. Welcome in, welcome in. Yeah, no, I had a few accidents this year. Loads of diodes blowing up, but we have weird oscilloscopes in the lab. They're very, very sensitive to direction. So oscilloscopes and frequency generator have a common port. And so when you're connecting a lot of these guys, you need to watch out for a lot of these issues where they all need common ground. So you know what? A few diodes blow up. It happens. But again, it just smells. Very, very strong smell and a bit of smoke. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to take a quick break. I'm going to make a cup of tea and we'll come back if that's okay. And when we come back, we're going to actually plot all our data together. So hopefully if some of you guys did in Excel, you didn't have to do it. It was just interesting if you guys don't have this equipment and you were interested in doing this measurement. I know a lot of people are talking about leakage and what's the word? That we needed to think about resistance and things like that. We're just going to make an ideal situation here. A lot of the terms that you guys are using are things that we haven't covered yet. I hope to build on this knowledge and talk about reactance and impedance, but for now we don't have all of that covered, and that's okay. We need the magic smoke. No, I am not going to explode a capacitor on stream. Stop it, chat. Bad chat. Bad chat. Down. Okay, I'll be right back in a bit. See ya. We can explore different concepts and ideas as to how that is possible. I really loved and enjoyed playing that game many, many times. And number 1 on the spot is Oxygen Not Included. This game is just a chef's hat to real physics. First of all, to the artwork. The batteries that you build are literally the classical old voltaic piles, the first battery ever created. The fact that gases have densities and carbon dioxide sinks, the ability to filter through these gases. There are so many amazing quirks in Oxygen Capacitors not included that are just so beautifully crafted. I really cannot compliment the team enough for coming up with these ideas and implementing them in their video game and being awfully addicting. It's also not an easy game. I hope you enjoyed my list and you have a new addiction for video games if you decide to play some of these. I have not played every single game in the world, so if you have any recommendations that you think are very good, I am open and all ears. Slán go fóill. My rabbit and I have decided to leave planet Earth. Isn't that right, Bambi? And I'm sure everyone shares the same sentiment. So today I'll be showing you the physics and the mathematics behind calculating the escape velocity of the surface of the Earth. First, let's answer this question. What is escape velocity? It is the minimum speed required to get off the surface of the Earth so that it can overcome Earth's gravitational pull. Basically, Newton's law states that every single body in this universe is attracted to each other. The more massive the body is, the more attractive it is. In our own solar system, Jupiter has one of the highest gravitational forces that we know of. But it has an inverse square relationship, which means that as we get away from planet Earth more and more, the less of the force of gravity we experience. There is less attractive force between the two bodies. So if we were to plot the force against distance, we would get this kind of relationship. As the distance between the two bodies increases, force that we experience becomes less and less and less. Technically, we still experience it no matter how far away we are. So even if we're millions of kilometers away from Earth, we still do feel a force of gravity. It's just very, very, very small. So small we usually say it's almost zero. I'd also like to highlight that there is a difference between the force of gravity and acceleration due to gravity. Myself as a lecturer, I see that students mix up these two concepts. And I think it comes down to the fact that we loosely call everything gravity. Gravity can mean Einstein's gravity theory, it could mean Newtonian's gravity theory, it could mean weight, or it can mean the G value, the 9.81 meters per second squared that is on the surface of the Earth. Which one is gravity? All of them. It just depends how you fill in the sentence. Generally speaking, gravity is referred to the force of gravity. In classical physics, we refer to this as Newton's law of gravity. F is equal to G times mass 1 times mass 2 all over the distance squared. Sometimes loosely, we refer to gravity as the acceleration due to gravity. We usually note it as a lowercase g, and that is 9.81 meters per second squared on the surface of the Earth. That means if I drop anything, I always look for something to throw or drop in my lectures, I swear. If I drop this rock with a really cool fossil, it means that every second its speed increases by 9.81 meters per second. Hence the unit meters per second, or meters per second squared. The acceleration due to gravity is due to the force of gravity. It is not referred to as gravity itself. Sometimes, however, loosely in the English language, we might refer to that as gravity. Hence the confusion. One is the force of gravity, F is equal to ma, or F is equal to g times m1 times m2 squared. And the other one is just lowercase g, the acceleration due to gravity. Make sure we know the difference between these two. Alright, now that we have all the basics, let's get off the surface of this planet. Here is a very accurate representation of planet Earth. And this right here is you. Not drawn to scale. R represents the radius of Earth, and x is some distance off the surface of the Earth where we would like to get away. This is the kinetic energy of U, the mass, that is required to get off the surface of the Earth with the escape velocity VE. Let's start with Newton's force of gravity. G is a gravitational constant. It's just a universal constant that we need to use to adjust our numbers. Lowercase m is your mass, capital M is the mass of the Earth, and x is the distance between you and Earth. So, what do we need to do? We need to put work into getting off the surface of the Earth. The equation for work is force times distance. Now, we're doing a little thing here where we have dw dx. Sub in the value for f from the above equation. This is our final expression. Our limits for integration are going to be from r to infinity, because we're starting from the surface of the Earth and we're trying to get as far away possible. What's the furthest thing possible away? Infinity. Now, what does this integration really mean? Well, we have a bit of a problem. The work required to get off the surface of the Earth isn't just a constant value. It actually changes depending on how far away from Earth we are, because the gravitational pull of the Earth is changing because we're increasing the distance between us and Earth. So each time we get further and further away, the work required takes less and less. Hello. Hello. Hope you guys are keeping well. Welcome in. Hi, Pal, welcome in. Red Majors, hope you guys are keeping well. Oh, hi, Phantom. Curty Streamstreak, welcome in, welcome in. My hands are cold. Billy, welcome in. Oh, your guys are talking about Formula One. Sorry, I don't understand anything. You can talk, no worries. Just that I'm not going to contribute much. I know nothing about Formula One, although there's some good physics in Formula One for sure. Welcome back. Thank you, thank you. Sorry it took a while. I peed and then I was looking at my phone while I was peeing, and someone posted the bunny rescue that rescued Bambi. They posted a list of food that they're allowed. There's a few interesting things there. There was like sugar snap peas, never given her before. So I might try and give her some occasionally. The problem with Bambi is that she's so small that when they say, oh, you can give this one thing, but in moderation, it's like, how much is moderation for a little shit like her? Anyway. A little bit. I'm my own resistance, Onryo. I get distracted too easy. Hi, Daniel. Welcome in, welcome in. I am the problem. It's me. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to show you all the work that we did. So I'm going to move YouTube over. I can keep an eye on you guys. And we're going to go into programming overlay. And we're going to go into IDE display, but instead of IDE, we're going to look at Excel. Just make sure. Okay, so here we go. We have Excel plotted. Let me unplug my power supply. Go. Yeah. Anywho. There we go. I'll just put that on the ground. So what we have here is we have the time on this axis, T in brackets S, if you're ever going to be pedantic about writing these things, and voltage with the unit volts. And you say, I know a lot of people don't like the fact that I use the voltage with the symbol of V, but I'm going to use it because that's what I like it. Welcome in, Enigma. Yeah, my education is a bit all over the place. 0x. I kind of, but it's I like my education, my research, my interests, everything about me in life, even the stuff that I do on social media, is described as a jack of all trades, but a master of none. Even the projects I assign my own students is very, very similar as well. I tend to do that. I tend to learn things, get really, really interested, but once I learn it, even if there's a massive application to it, I don't bother. Isn't this an American versus Euro thing? V versus U for voltage? No. Some European countries use V and some use U. It's all interchangeable. So I don't know what America uses, but in Europe, even in Europe, this is a contradiction all the time. So I don't know which one you're saying, but Europe alone, some countries, and it's not even country. I know a lot of people say, oh, because I studied this, the whole nation does that. And I think the power of social media and the internet has highlighted this to me. When I was very young, I was like, this is my experience with my PhD. And people would come and saying, what? That's what you do in your university? That's so wrong, because this is what I did. Another person would say, no, you guys are all wrong, because this is what my university did. And it turns out, ladies and gentlemen, shocker, hold your breath for this, hold your breath, clutch your pearls. Every country and every department and every field of science operates slightly differently. Gasp. Who knew? Who knew? All right, now that that's done, let's plot all of this. Insert scatter plot, and we're going to do, oh, look at that. Oh, that is a sexy plot right there, chat. What we're going to do is we're going to plot it with the scatter plot. We'll do a scatter plot. Now, proper things to input in here. The title. We'll say RC in DC circuit. Stands for resistor capacitor. This is voltage in V. So usually what you would do to teach good report writing, if anyone is a student and has to write lab reports, you'll state the parameter, voltage, and you have to be detailed about this. This is the thing that I don't see. Did I spell that wrong? Voltage. across capacitor. If this was a publication, you would need, like, so what voltage? Voltage across capacitor. And then in brackets, the unit. Very, very important. And then axis and title, time. And then in brackets, seconds. You don't really need to define time. I deter from that, legal. It's a bad habit to have, in my opinion. Inputting a forced 0, into your point is not fair, is not honest with your results. Because nothing is not 0. Does that make sense? Oh, let's go. Some really high IQ here and some very low IQ as well. It is, Zir. It is. I don't know if I can do that in... Can I put a log? Okay, so add trend line. I know the other one is an exponential one. I don't have the proper log one for this one. I know the discharging one, you can. The discharging one works, but the charging one doesn't have it. What we could do instead is home insert. Oh no, we'll go back to the scatter plot. If we want the visualization of it, we can do this part here like this. Do you use different software for graphing for your day job, or do you use Excel stuff? I assume you're using Excel for our Excel. No, lay with mine. I use everything for Excel. Everything for very, very quick stuff. If I have mass data, I would use Python. I haven't used it in 2 years now, though. No, basically, if I can use Excel, I will. But with any mass data, then you'd have to use something bigger or better. So at the moment, with my own students project, we're using Excel for little demos, but for mass data, we're using Python. So we're doing the same thing. But Excel is actually really, really good. I know a lot of people love to shit on Excel, but as long as you don't kill it with data, as in the amount to solve, it can actually do a lot of really, really interesting things. It's user-friendly more than anything, but also there's a lot of embedded code that you can work, as in you can make it very custom. You just need to learn how. I used to hate it as well, but yeah. Nothing is not 0. Well, we couldn't measure 0 legal in that case because of the whole starting issue. We didn't measure it, so we can't put in the 0 unless you do. I'm gonna stand my foot down and say we're not putting in 0 here. We did not measure it. It couldn't have been measured. We're not going to do it in this case. And I genuinely think it gives a really bad habit to students, forcing something through a straight line, even though you know it's supposed to be there. And technically, if you don't put a weight on, it won't stretch or whatever kind of measurement you're taking. But you should, yeah, no, it's wrong. It's very wrong. I'm one of those people who's anti it. All right, so this is what our beautiful plot looks like. And the idea behind this is, if exactly, Cater, you just took the words out of my mouth, it should approach 5 volts. Now, a few people did mention things like, what's the word? That there's leakage current and all those kind of things. And that's true, that can happen. The best way to truly measure this is that if we charged it instantly, and we just take out the resistor really quickly and we'll charge it. So if we did that really, really, really quickly, we would charge it up to 5 volts immediately. And then what we could do is we could get the inverse of this plot, it's just the exact opposite. And we can extract the 63% from that if we wanted to. But let's look at a theoretical calculation, okay? We know that tau, okay, let's look at tau. We know that tau, oh shit, sorry. Simple. There's a better way of finding the Greek letters. Does anyone know how? If I were like thinking ohm, I need to find ohm. How do you guys find it again? There's like a really quick and nice way of doing it. I never remember how. There we go, tau. Thank you, Phantom. Tau is equal to the resistance. Look, what did I just do? Did you guys see that? Am I crazy? What? You know what? It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Okay, so tau is equal to RC. Now, you can change the font. Yeah, oh, that's what it was, Sakana. You're spot on. You're absolutely spot on about that. So tau is equal to RC. So let's do a little quick theoretical calculation. Do you use microfarad instead of microfarad? No, I use the micro, no P, yeah. Wherever I can anyway. Tau is equal to RC. Our resistance value, let's do a little table here. Our resistance value in the unit, okay, we're going to be very careful about this. We're writing a lab report, chat. If any of my students are watching this, take notes. I give cherry marks for beautiful lab reports. Where's my ohm? Okay, I think I'm going to try this. And then symbol. Oh, ohm? No. Oh, ohm is W, isn't it? No. Symbol. W. Capital ohm though? Shit. Oh my god. Symbol. Shift W. Yes, let's go. Okay, I learned things. Let's go. So our resistance in ohm is 1 mega ohm. So that's equal to 10 to the power of 6. And our capacitor was equal. Now we don't have a capacitance measurement device. They're quite expensive actually to get. But what we do, we're just going to take the word for it. That is 100 microfarad. So 100 by 10 to the power of -6. That took a while. Okay, here we go. So to charge this guy to 63%, theoretically speaking, should equal to the multiplication of these numbers. So the time it takes is this guy multiplied by this guy, and that's how many seconds, about 100 seconds it should take to get to about 68%. Now, what we could do is we could get the top value here. We'll say that the cap was 4.5 volts, 4.44. So top voltage was 4.4. And then 63%, isn't that what we're looking for? Is it 63 or 68? Is it 68.3 or is it 63.8? I'm always getting mixed up about this one. It's 63. So 63. Oops, sorry. 63 multiplied by 4.4 is equal to this. This is our voltage. So roughly at 2.8 volts, that should be how much it takes. 2.8 is roughly here. Follow our train track. And when you look at that, it's just under or approximately at 100 seconds. So experimentally, it kind of worked out. We can see that tau is roughly equal to 63% state of charge of our capacitor. So there's a good few more things, a lot of other details that we could study about capacitors. How does a capacitor charge? It's got to do with the area, the ability to create an electric field. We'll talk about the dielectric, the distance of the plates, and all of these and so forth. But we can't be here all day. I do have a YouTube video on that stuff, I believe, from last year. if you guys are interested in looking at that a little bit more. But we must move on, otherwise we won't get to AC currents, and that's fun stuff. By fun stuff, I say truly traumatizing stuff. I really think this is the cool thing about capacitors and inductors, is putting them into AC circuits. Now, a capacitor isn't that useful. We can place it in parallel with a lot of power sources, and we can have really, really nice ideas. They can be used to back up electric storage or charge. They're used for a few things like that, but mostly use capacitors in AC systems. Really, really important. And yeah, there's filters out of them, which is really, really cool, and all these kind of things. Now, just to cover a few basics really quickly with you, chat. An AC circuit is the exact opposite of what this power supply supplies. DC, I know you know the band AC/DC, yeah? So DC means direct current. It supplies a constant voltage for us. An AC current is going to be something that alternates, right? It goes up, down, up and down, up and down, right? And what you're doing basically is, you see this positive and negative port? What's happening is, every couple of seconds, or every microsecond, or even less, you're switching the polarity of the source. You're making this positive, negative, then you're switching. Negative, positive, then switching, negative, positive, switching, and so on and so forth. So you go. So you're making the wave go zoom, 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 and you get a lovely wave. Okay? Now this is important because we express AC circuits in waves. I'm going to talk a bit about waveforms. Again, I'm going to try and skip over it as much as possible, just so that we can get to doing some really, really fun calculations. Time for reactants, exactly. Boom, 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 boom. Putting away all the stuff. So unfortunately, can't do too many experiments or demos because I don't have an AC power supply. It's one of my dreams to obtain it, but oscilloscopes and frequency generators are really expensive. So something to invest in future. It tends to be one of the Excel haters. Welcome in, Katok. My father broke the dual cap of our amp. Karaoke. Oh, damn! That's pretty incredible. Incredible indeed. Layla, hating on Excel is just too trendy. You know, it's like hating on MATLAB. As the young kids call it this day, you're trying to be cool, but really you're just being cringe. Haters gonna hate, 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 hate. Someone wrote a song like that for someone. By the way, for symbols, also try Windows button plus dot. Windows button and select from... Oh, cool. Okay, thanks, Phantom. Good tea, good tea. Okay, where do we start with it? Yes. Yes, let's explain why a capacitor is 90 degrees out of phase, sister. And how a capacitor fucks up everything in your circuit. There we go. That's what we're starting with. Fuck's sake, so this worked. I don't even need this guy. Fuck's sake. Don't understand what's going on. printer. It's just a mess. Just a mess, I tell yous. Where was it gonna go? Oh yes. Hi John, welcome in. Anything related to flux capacitors? We wish. Wish. Not much, unfortunately. 2 seconds. I'm just going to try and print something else on my 3D printer. Basically, I think the summary is the issue with my 3D printer is Bamboo Lab, or like certain prints. For whatever reason, there are prints that my 3D printer just isn't happy with and refuses to print them. That's what I'm understanding from. Something about the slicing is causing an issue or something like that. Not too sure. Software, I don't know, like, it's such a pain in the arse. Bloatware. I've looked everywhere online. Yeah. That does sound like a fun project, Sammy. If only I had all the time to devote to projects. I put instant coffee in my microwave and I almost went back into... What the fuck? That's a thing? And it's not downloading. I'm gonna try and print my Aperture Science Century term. Not mine. Build this. Oh. A hand. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to talk a little bit about capacitors. So that's the next step I want to talk about, specifically in AC circuits. So you remember in DC circuits, initially the voltage is minimum and it charges up, and that's what we did with the experiment. And then your current was a maximum initially and it goes a minimum, minimum, minimum. So you can understand that the capacitor, the voltage and the current of a capacitor are different, right? They're going to be not the same at all. They're going to be quite different. They're not going to be proportional. Because remember Ohm's law, V is equal to IR. Do you remember that? I'm going to get that in your brain again. When we, with a resistor, V is directly proportional to I. So we could work out with that guy. With the problem with a capacitor is that they're out of phase with one another. And what we tend to say is that it's 90 degrees out of phase. That's phase just is a how much forward or how much behind a wave is from another. So let me show you what I mean by that. Oh. I have a lot of stuff to wipe off on the board. Do a little bit of stuff on phases. What time is it? Okay. How much can I get done in an hour is a question. I want to play a bit of Dyson Sphere. Yeah, no, we'll get at least to reactance. We'll get to at least. It'll be fine. When does sine and cos enter the chat? Pretty much now, actually. The sine and cos's are coming. Sine and cos's are coming. Let me pick you up again, chat. Sorry. Much better. Much better. Okay, so I'm gonna have a look at this. So, when we supply a wave, an AC source, let me move this a bit closer. When we supply a wave to our circuit, we'll supply, let's say, voltage, or it could be current, it doesn't matter. We have time on this axis. Wave looks not too different to this. Wee woo, wee woo. Pretty standard. And that could be our voltage source that we're supplying to the circuit. That's fine. When we say a capacitor is out of phase by 90 degrees, we're going to replace this guy from time, because it's not really useful. Instead, we're going to put in degrees. An interesting thing in there. How many degrees in one full wave, chat? Here's a question. And that thing again real quick. $360 or 2 pi. There we go. At least one. So we're going to use degrees for this case. Usually I'm a pro pi person. But we're going to use degrees in this, okay? So absolutely right, 360, because there's 360 degrees in a circle, right? Now the unit circle is going to be very important for us here. This is 0 degrees, or in the unit circuit, this is 0, this is 1, this is 0, this is -1. Okay, so if we have an arrow moving around, it can be between those positions. That's why we use sine and cos. That's why sine of 1. What's sine of 1 in this case? Sine in brackets 1. Lighting is okay. Sine of 1 is equal to 1. Sine of 0 is equal to 0. But a cos of 1 is 0. Yeah. Taking a while to get it out there. Happy belated Pi Day. Welcome in, welcome in. I prefer cake over pie, but listen, this is all I got. Alright? This is all I got. Now, when we say a capacitor is 90 degrees out of phase, so think about it. This is 180 degrees of a wave, 360, or 0, 180, and so on and so forth. So when we say the voltage is 90 degrees out of phase, and specifically we say it's lagging, this is what it would look like. The difference between this guy and this guy is minus 90 degrees. And I always get confused about this personally. I always think, but that looks like it's leading. It's not lagging by 90 degrees, it's leading by 90 degrees. And so it is kind of weird. The way I try to get my brain to make this work properly is to think of it as, how should I say this? To think of it as, when does this sine wave become sine again? When does it start at its starting point, at 0 point? It takes 90 degrees in time, basically. I know it's not really time, but that's the way I think about it. To get to that starting point. So this black wave here actually already started as a sine wave, is 90 degrees ahead of this guy. Now you could say, well, it's not lagging by minus 90 degrees. Then you could say that it's ahead by 270. And you know what? You're fine to say that if you wish. But generally in phasor diagrams and such, we always deal with everything within a 180 degree plane. Okay? So you're either positive 180 degrees, so this is all positive in this direction from 0 to plus 180, or you're in the negative 180 degrees. This is the general rule of thumb that we're going to use. This will be helpful with inductors and other phasor diagrams. And again, I probably should revise a lot more about phasor diagrams. I'm kind of skipping ahead a little bit here, but it's just so that we have a bit of bread and butter in this kind of idea. So when we say that the voltage is lagging, it means the wave is out of sync. Okay? So you can have a supply of a source once, but then that's what's happening across the resistor, and this is what's happening across the capacitor. Bit weird, right? So, Ohm's law is still obeyed, by the way. We still can use Ohm's law for solving these problems when we have a capacitor circuit. So let's say we have an AC signal and we have a resistor, and that's it, right? They're just connected to ground. We just have a wave of the voltage source and a wave of the resistor, and they're perfectly in sync with one another. And you can use Ohm's law, and you can use whatever you want. It solves everything. Everything is great. If you have a pure capacitor in your circuit, it's purely 90 degrees out of phase, okay? But then, how do you calculate or solve problems when you have a resistor and a capacitor? Ooh. Things get yucky. And so we're going to introduce an interesting concept. We're going to introduce the concept of reactance, okay? So you can imagine what the term reactance could mean to you and me. Again, my printer has an issue with a lot of bamboo files. I'll say what I'll experiment what I can do. Anyways, sorry. Where was I with this? I said something last. Synchronous. That's actually a really good analogy. I like that. Reactance. Thank you very much. We're going to talk about reactance. Reactance, I know this sounds really, really bad, and a lot of people are like, but that's not the same thing. Reactance is the resistance in an AC circuit. So when we look at a capacitor, I'm trying to think, I think I forgot to cover something really fundamental. I'm skipping over lots, but I think I forgot to cover something fundamental. We'll see. I'll go back to it. I do. Reactance, the symbol for it is an X, say a C, is equal to, for a capacitor, is equal to 1 over 2 pi, so we're dealing with waves, times the frequency times the capacitance. What this means is that your resistance to changing, okay, there we go. That's what I was thinking about. It's your resistance to change in current. Your capacitor is going, think about what a resistor is in Ohm's law. It's the resistance to current, right? In a classical DC circuit. Reactance is the exact same. How much is your capacitor resisting the change in current, resisting that wave? And there's a very interesting relationship with the capacitor, and this is where the cool stuff happens. 1 over 2 pi, okay? There is a derivation for this. We won't go through it today. F, that's the frequency of the wave, how quickly your wave is changing. So look at that equation. That means the faster your wave changes, smaller the resistance is going to be. Interesting. For a capacitor. And the larger your capacitor is going to be, the less resistance that's going to be. Again, reactance is a little bit different to resistance. I'm just trying to give a little bit of a brain correlation to it. So we could calculate what the resistance is in our circuit with a capacitor. That's kind of the idea that we can solve with this. Again, we're going to cover a few interesting equations. Let's do one example. Let's just do one example. We have an AC signal, and I'll say it's supplying 6,000 hertz. Baby, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me no more. So here I have a question for you, chat. The resistor's 270 ohms, and the capacitance value is 22 nanofarads. Calculate the total impedance. What the heck is total impedance? Well, remember I said reactance is the resistance that your capacitor can have due to frequency and the capacitance value, okay? Your resistor has resistance, and so total impedance is the combination of those two things. Hello. Oh, thank you very much. I has a Moscow Mule. Hi, Lady Spookums. Sounds like Smeagol singing the greatest hits, does it? A Moscow Mule while we're teaching about capacitors. So your AC signal is supplying 6,000. Oh, by the way, 140 streak. Excellent. Amazing. Thank you so much, Lady Spookum. Our AC signal is supplying 6,000 hertz. And the resistor and the capacitor are both kind of screwed up, right? So let's look at it from a phasor diagram. Remember your unit circle? Remember we said that a resistor is in this direction, right? It's just normal. It obeys Ohm's law. While the capacitor is minus 90 degrees out of phase. We said that earlier. So this is the reactance of the capacitor, right? So it's minus 90 degrees out of phase. The resistor is in this direction. This is 0. This is -1. So the source, or the net voltage, or the net reactance of our circuit has to be a combination of those both. If you combine a capacitor value and a resistor value together, you have to draw some line in between. Sorry, I don't. I'm sorry. Continue. From Bunzo, is she old enough to make cocktails? Refreshments, exactly. It is the most conductive drink. So the total impedance has to be somewhere in between there. If that's what the capacitor is and is a vector, it could be big or small. And if this is a vector, it could be big or small. The net impedance, i.e. the combination of those two guys, has to be somewhere in between. We need to measure the size of this guy and what the angle is, okay? So those are the two. This is what's called a phasor diagram, by the way, if you're worried. Phasor diagram is an expression using kind of like the unit circle. It's okay, Salty, it's okay. Are you with me so far? If you're very, very lost, but only got lost recently, could you jump in and tell me, could you explain this one thing really, really quickly? Because if I, lose you any time before then. Kinda, okay. Is there anything I could reiterate or rephrase? Welcome in, mister. Hope you're keeping well. Because I want to mention something else about the unit circle. When we deal with capacitors and resistors, we're going to deal with two planes. I'm sure you guys are used to the X plane and the Y plane. That familiar to you? And then if I wrote 7x plus 5y, you would know to plot it 7x plus 5y. It's a point up there, and that's your vector, net vector. You remember that, right? You don't? It's okay. I might be jumping the gun with the level of maths that we might have. But maybe you're familiar with that. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to deal with the real plane, and we're going to deal with the imaginary plane. I know. We're going to have a very active imagination. Because we're going to be dealing with the real plane, think about it, the resistor is going to be the real guy. He's going to be in the real plane because the poor Crather obeys Ohm's law. He is going to be our savior. Thank freaking God resistors obey Ohm's law because it solves all our problems pretty much. Capacitor, the SOB, is minus 90 degrees out of phase and causes a huge amount of issues for it. So we're going to put the capacitor in the imaginary plane, and we're going to call it J. So that means that when we say that the reactance, the symbol, the reactance of the resistor is equal to 270 ohms, we know it's a real number in the real plane. The reactance of the capacitor, we haven't calculated yet, is going to be equal to whatever, is going to be equal to minus, it's in the minus dimension, J. And you can imagine that we're going to do some algebra, we're going to do some trigonometry, to find where the net guy is. Why J instead of I? Great question, Zero. Why do we not use I in circuit analysis? Oh, beer. There you go. No worries, Salty. Not imaginary numbers. I is current, exactly. So in a lot of derivation notation specifically, I would stand for current. I know we use the capital letter I, so you might be like, well, there is no difference. Actually, a lot of people don't use the capital letter for I. And especially when you use it in integration and differentiation, or basically as a, not a partial derivative, sorry, as a dependent, it is in lowercase. So we can't use that. So instead we use J to signify the difference between them. But it's still the same thing. So if we had minus J squared, that's 1. So whatever rules you remember about imaginary numbers, they're still real. Those imaginary numbers are still real. Okay. First step, let's calculate what the reactances of the capacitor. What is the value of its resistance to change in current? Because it is resisting change. The frequency is hopping back and forward, back and forward, back and forward. The poor creator is like, Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, I have to keep up with this. But it turns out, the faster you change your frequency, the less reactance it has. And it kind of makes sense. We'll think about it from a physics perspective. Maybe I'll get back to it. Maybe I'll do another video of it. But it is a very interesting thing. I have a whole video on this, by the way, because I love teaching about passive filters. And I like teaching passive filters from a pure physics phenomenon. Anyways, sorry. XC is equal to 1 over 2 pi. The frequency is 6,000. And the capacitance value is 22 by 10 to the minus 9. Don't forget those units, those pesky units we need to keep track of. So let's grab your calculators. Have a calculator. Woohoo! 1 divided by 2 pi. Put that all in brackets because I don't trust calculators. Multiply by 6,000. Multiply by 22 by 10 to the minus 9. I'm seeing a lot of students struggle with calculators these days. In my experience, what they end up doing, like say in this case, is that they will literally put this in the calculator. They will say 1 over 2. They'll find the letter pi, then write 6,000, and then write 22 by 10 to the minus 9, and they'll get a syntax error. They're like, I don't understand why the calculator works. They're not experienced of, just because I write 2 pi 6,000 and this guy, that they don't understand what that means. Or at least they don't understand how to, infer it. If that makes sense. I suspect there's another thing that isn't a hard rule. Okay, yeah, no, it's fine, Sync. There are people who use lowercase I for current. So it would make sense why in this case we wouldn't, though. Like, I'm usually anti-engineering terminologies. So yeah. Are calculators allowed in high school? Yes. They're not allowed in primary school. So in primary school, you use long multiplication, long division. You do all of those things without a calculator. Then in high school, we start learning a calculator. Or that's the way it used to be. I'm actually out of the loop in the education system for a while now. Actually, I am in the education system. What am I saying? But I don't know what the rules are in primary schools anymore. In primary schools, I think you still can't use a calculator. Okay, so if I were to write that this is the reactance, it would be minus 1205.72 J. So on this plot of the unit circle, it's minus 1,205, and I put the symbol J because it's on the imaginary axis. Does that make sense? How are you dealing with the rise of AI in teaching? I basically have to adjust all my lab reports. I've reduced the weighting on discussion because most people are ChatGPTing, and you can't even though you might know that they're ChatGPTing, you can't enforce it because how are you meant to? You claim that they did it, but do you have proof? I guess the burden of proof always goes on the student that they have to show that they didn't use ChatGPT, but I don't know, it gets really, really finicky. So what I tend to do with my own students is that the level of discussion percentage decreases, and instead mathematics and results and calculations and descriptions and tables weight increases. So you still will not pass with ChatGPT. You have to work hard. Yeah, you don't even have to be very, very smart or put hours and hours of work in. Oh no, you just have to work hard for my lab reports to do decently well in them. Yeah, discussion is, but that's what else can you do, Luckily, physics is very mathematical based and problem solving based and exam based. So even if we have lab reports, they're maximum worth 50%. So, and they usually have a little statement that they have to pass the written exam. So at least we have a precaution. I don't know how it works in English and arts, a lot of degrees where it's essay based or something like, anything that's purely essay based is going to be tough to correct, I think. But luckily in physics, we can still examine in a proper exam hall. Yeah, unfortunately, Fanatic, I try to teach students to show all their work. It's not even just because it's because of the exam. It's because if you do a little mistake accidentally and you didn't show any of your work, you get 0. So it's always a safe bet to show as much work as possible. You're only doing yourself a disservice by not doing it. Even if you have to force yourself to write it down, you might as well. All right. So we calculated what the reactances of capacitors is 1205.72J. And it's in the -1 because it's in the imaginary. It's in the J dimension because it's in the imaginary, and it's minus because it's in this trajectory. It's minus 90 degrees out of phase. So the next step is, well, how do you get two resistors, the total resistance when they're in series? You add them. So to get the total impedance, which is the total reactance, the net reactance of our circle, or of our resistor, we use a simple capital Z first. I'm going to use the symbol T for total, is equal to the reactance of R plus the reactance of C. Let's add those two together. I hope you remember your trig. Oh. Alright, just gonna have to wait for it to dry. Problem with spraying the whiteboard. Hopefully it'll dry soon. Trigonometry, what's that? I know. Imagine watching this stream, all of you in the chat today, coming into the stream, sitting down and being like, you know what? I want to spend my Sunday night watching Tofu do phasor diagrams and teaching about capacitance reactance, or capacitor reactance, and impedance. I know, Yuli. What a joke. Hi, by the way. So, let's add these two things together. You have a real component and an imaginary component, so it's actually nice and straightforward. 270 ohms minus 1205.72. Okay. This is the total impedance of our circuit. while doing deep Dyson Sphere project. Excellent, Natron. Bless you. Thank you. Thank you. Excuse me. Excuse me. If that helps. Fair enough. Bless thy nostrils. Now, if we wanted to plot that, we could. That means that our resistor value is a vector of value 270. Our impedance value is roughly minus 201,205.72. It's a bit bigger, a good bit bigger actually. So you can roughly eyeballing it, say, our total impedance must then be somewhere here, because this vector is way, way bigger than this one. So we would have a really big angle here. It'll be obviously less than 90, but bigger than 45 degrees, surely. So by eyeballing this, or even just understanding conceptually what's going on, is a great way to test your maths. So what we're going to do is, we're actually going to do some trig. How do you find the reactant? So remember Pythagoras' theorem? A squared plus B squared is equal to C squared. Yes. And do you remember your tan? Arctan is equal to opposite over adjacent. Do you remember that? I'm glad to hear that, lab rats, because that's where we're going with this. So, to calculate this guy and express it in something we call the polar form, it's going to be equal to the reactance of the resistor squared plus the reactance of the capacitor to be squared. I usually just write R. I'm not sure if I actually reactance. I can just say, but just be mindful that could be potential. And the angle is arctan, the guy who is going to be opposite, which is XC over R. I can change the symbol to R, just the resistor value. Redundant to say the reactance of resistor. Okay, so let's put that all in our calculator. R squared is 270 plus 1205.72 to be squared. Here. And the angle is, symbol for angle is arctan minus 1205.72 all over 270. Now, sometimes you'll see an equation and say, Tofu, you forgot the minus sign in front of your arctan because that's the formula for a capacitor. And you're absolutely right. But it's the same thing as saying this guy. I rather teach you doing it this way, because if you are going to have inductors and capacitors in your circuit, one's going to be positive, one's going to be negative, and you're like, oh, I made a mistake, I forgot to add the minus sign because it was a capacitor. Oh, no, was it a minus sign for an inductor? I got confused. If you're doing it this way, you know fundamentally what's going on. You will know that this is a minus sign. You can even sub in the minus sign in here, and you'll still get the right answer because it's all to be squared. Minus all to be squared is going to give you an absolute value. So keeping track of the fact that a capacitor is in the negative direction of the imaginary plane will always give you the right answer, and you never need to learn off a formula then. What I'm trying to always do with these kind of things is I might be teaching you the painful way. I tend to do that a lot, actually. I teach it very, very painfully. It's like, Tofu, there's a current divider equation for this exact reason. But the reason I do this is so that you never need to learn off an equation, and you can always figure this out by yourself. That's kind of, I hope, the idea. So let's do that in our calculators. No, nothing, flesh wound. I don't do anything with AI. I don't work in it, and I have no interest particularly with it either. I don't even use artwork for AI. I know a lot of lecturers and teachers use AI to generate images to explain concepts. I'm not a big fan. I used to do, when ChatGPT first came out, I used to have a bit of fun with it. It was always nice to show how wrong it was. But then, or like, it was interesting to build on it, if that makes sense. But very, very quickly, any interest went away from it completely. And in your calculators then, arctan minus 1205.72 all divided by 270. And because we kept track of the minus sign, we'll get a minus sign. But if you use a classical equation, that's usually used for a capacitor, you would still get the same answer. Yeah, no, look, I think I enjoyed a bit of ChatGPT initially when it first came out. It was fun to write a Slipknot poem in style of Yeats, you know. It was definitely a fun thing that came out, but I think, fortunately, I just lost all hope. And I know that AI is very, very good in science at the moment. There's a lot of usefulness with it, and it's the big buzzword for most funding applications, but yeah, I don't know. All right, so that's what that means. That means that in the unit circle, this is the resistance of the resistor. This is the impedance, the reactance of the capacitor in this direction, minus 90 degrees. And our total impedance, the net situation of all the resistance, is a value of 1,235.58 ohms at an angle of minus 77.38 degrees. Hopefully, that kind of, possibly, partially, makes sense. This might be, again, overkill for showing how to calculate it and where I get everything from. But the idea behind all of this is so that you never learn off these equations. I hope you understand everything conceptually. And even with the arc cos tan, I know that there's mnemonics and things like that to try and learn those things off. In my experience, again, with the years of teaching I have, and especially beginners in physics, is that those mnemonics are terrible. You learn off the mnemonic for sine, cos, and tan, but you still don't understand what that means. Why the sine is the way it is, why the cos is the way it is. And so, exactly, Chocolate drawing a picture, even though, again, no marks, no nothing, it's so much more helpful for yourself. There was no need to do any of the diagrams that I did. We did not need to go through the unit circle if there was just the equations that we had to learn off, that's fine. But the beauty, again, behind all of this is that you never need to study, never need to learn off if you understand everything. For example, I taught this last year, forgot everything. And as soon as I was up on the board trying to solve these problems just a couple of weeks ago, I just remembered everything because I could figure it out in a moment. Probably shouldn't do that, to be honest. But I was like, you know what? I worked hard last year to learn this and understand this. Hopefully it has developed. You can see that it does. Imaginary numbers, yes. So imaginary numbers are just basically the y-axis. No worries, Flesh Wound. Always happy to chat about anything and everything. Do you guys hear any ambient music in the background? It's very quiet. I'm gonna shut up and you guys tell me if you hear a little calming music in the background. I hear nothing. I just got bunked. I don't think so. Okay, no one hears anything? I think you stopped the cyberpunk music. It says, I see my desktop audio. It is working. It's meant to be there. It's just very quiet for me. Okay, Code says he hears it. And James says they hear it. Okay. Yeah, to be honest, it's probably safe to not. Actually, I never got that far, Natron. I would never have used that. Not in AC circuits anyway. That's what I wouldn't do that there. It's safer for you guys not to use not to turn up the volume of the stream too much. For health and safety reasons. We're all about health and safety on the stream, to be fair. To be fair. Again, huge thank you to whoever gifted the dime extractor, the fume extractor. It was anonymous, and my throne sound alerts I don't think are working. I thought I set it up again, but I'm not sure if they're working. Like, this thing is here. See, my wishlist throne.com, Tiny Toxic Tofu is there. But I didn't get any alerts of it, and the only reason I spotted it the other day was because I was doing my taxes yesterday. So whoever gave me the fume extractor, huge thank you. I think I'm getting it delivered. I'm not sure. I might be getting delivered, so thank you. Oh yeah, if I crank up my volume, I can hear it. Perfect. It's supposed to be subtle, I suppose. I want you to obviously hear me. A lot of people have been complaining that my sound is very loud, so I'm trying to do bit by bit where I could. Well, I hope you found the summary, crash course, like hardcore crash course of capacitors and DC and AC circuits. Cool. But yeah, is there any reason why the reactance is managed part and not vice versa, by the way? Yes, there is a reason, Kuro, because a resistor is perfect. A resistor is the guy you marry, you know? He obeys Ohm's law. Voltage is directly proportional to current. It's perfect. It exists in a perfect plane. So everything should be compared to a resistor. You know that sibling that is an overachiever or like is really reliable, and your parents are always like, why couldn't you be more like your resistor? So instead of sister, it's a resistor. So basically, the resistor is always going to be in the 0 degree plane. Then the inductor is the guy that is out of phase. The capacitor is minus 90 degrees out of phase because it fucks up. It is pushed into the imaginary plane. And the inductor, if we were to study this a bit further, is also in the imaginary plane, but it leads by 90 degrees out of phase. And so you have this range of inductors and capacitors possibly messing things up in a range of 180 degrees. That's why we tend to have that positive 180 degrees and a negative 180 degrees. We don't tend to use a full unit circle from 0 to 360. We'd rather use positive 180 and a negative 180. Does that make sense a little bit more? Possibly? Perhaps? Maybe. I should marry a resistor. That's the summary of my explanation. So the resistor is the thing that's proper. The inductor and the capacitor are not proper. They're bold. They're naughty. And they ruin everything for us in a circuit. Well, I say ruin, but you know, they make really interesting things. What? Great question, Rogue. What is impedance matching? Oh, is that resonance frequency? Is that what you're referring to? When the impedance of the inductor and the capacitor match and you get resonance frequency. Is that what you're referring to? I never heard of it called as impedance matching, but you let me know if that's a different thing. Tofu's childhood traumas are showing again. I don't know. Like my older sister was good and reliable and stuff as well. I guess, yeah, I don't know. Trying to think. My parents never really said you should be more like your older sister. Never anything like that. I'd say my parents really got involved in my career at all. As long as I wasn't asking money from them, I guess they're happy. I think they're just happy that I'm at the stage of my life that, you know, I don't need to call them for money. Oh, it's a joke based on resistors being ideal marriage candidates. Okay, is it? So resonance frequencies matching transmission line impedances to load impedance. Oh, no, I don't actually do that, Rogue. No, I know what you're talking about now. I didn't know that that was the term for it, but no, I don't teach that or kind of go into it. I do like Thevenin theorem, Norton theorem with load impedances. Oh, I know what you're talking about. Never mind. I do. I think, if I'm not mistaken, is that not the same thing as the the maximum power transfer theorem in AC circuits? So the load impedance needs to match the internal impedance of the voltage source or whatever it is. It isn't necessary. Oh yeah. No, I don't think so. Yeah, I think I'm fine. It's very hard to tell, you know, about what's normal and what not, and what's not. Obviously, I have Soviet parents, so my upbringing is quite different to a lot of you, people in the chat. So what I say is normal might not be normal, but I think I had a normal upbringing. Nothing too crazy. My parents aren't as bad as some of the social media posts they make out of what like European parents are like. For example, like in Eastern European culture, they tend to be very mean to you about your weight, about what you eat. My parents weren't like that, at least. It was definitely not that. But they were strict about good grades and doing well. Yeah, that kind of thing. They were definitely strict about that. Soviet parent opinion, it shouldn't be like your sibling because both of you are terrible. That's true. That's true. Now that I think about it, I think I was shunned no matter what choices I did, and my older sister was shunned no matter what choices. Do you know who didn't get shunned? My younger sister. Because do you know that, like, my family is definitely the very stereotypical structure of 3 siblings. My older sister, like, got the worst of it, right? And she got the worst strict experience and everything like that. I'm the middle child. My parents got divorced. I'm the only one who speaks to my parents. So I'm constantly, I'm a mediator. That's all I am. And then my younger sister is the way crazier one, if that makes sense, and didn't get punished nowhere near as we did and got away with murder. So we definitely have a stereotypical sibling structure, if that makes sense. Murder. Also, one of your sisters is your clone. Yeah, my younger sister looks a bit like me. I wouldn't say we're clone-like, although when we were bridesmaids and wore the same dress, people did get... My younger sister and I look very like. You know what? I take it as a compliment. She's like 4 years younger than me. So. All right. I think this was a very, very good lesson. Maybe it's incoherent on reflection. It might have been quite an incoherent lesson overall, maybe. So I apologize about that, I suppose. Because if I were to teach this, if this was a true lecture with my students, I wouldn't be distracted by chat so much. But also, I would have covered a lot more details about what a capacitor is, first of all. And then I would have done a separate lecture on what wave diagrams are, what phasor diagrams are, and how to do polar and rectangular conversions back and forward. We would have covered a lot more basics before we delved into what I did. But I think if this is revision for you, it's great. If this is your first time seeing, you got to see the surface level of fully solving a problem like this. I hope anyway. That's my ambition.